With us today is former Air Force Commander, General Eitan Ben-Eliahu. I wanted to start by asking what you foresee as potential implications of COVID-19 on globalization and diplomacy.
There is no doubt that the impact of this epidemic is very, very strong, and I'm not sure if we ever seen something like that in the recent history. However, I believe that it's just a matter of time. We will recover and life will come back to normal. There is a human phenomena that people have a strong, actually, an unlimited desire to get back to normality. And what we see today, that even though we are in the middle of the second wave, the reaction of the humanity everywhere, in Israel and everywhere, is less panic than it used to be in the first wave. So this we have to just to bear in mind. Now, specifically, in regards to global diplomacy, first of all, what I must say that in cases of crisis, no matter where, either it is in your family or your company or your society or your country or globally, what you need leadership. In order to recover, it is vital to having a leadership that will lead you to how to recover from this crisis. And I must say, unfortunately, at this time, we are lack in, global leadership. The countries, the nationalism is raising, that's one thing. The character of the leaders in the most important countries, either in Europe or North America or China or India, they are more and more, nationally oriented. So they don't have the attention, they don't give enough attention to how to cooperate and how to lead and to coordinate between the content in order to recover from this crisis.
I'm curious to hear what strategic effects you think it will have on geopolitics and particularly the Middle East.
The global effect, and for that, let me recall where we were 6 months ago, for instance. 6 months ago, there was kind of experiencing to try and to tailor relations between the United States and North Korea. It has been put aside since this crisis started. We feel and we can see that in these days, the leader of North Korea is getting a little nervous. And he's reacting due to the fact that nobody's paying attention to him. Maybe he doesn't feel the real reason or one of the reasons, which is the COVID-19. That's one thing. The other thing is we were experiencing a try to tailor economical relations between the United States and China. We all remember, it was not so long ago, that we were also on the threshold of a big fight in regard to economy fight between, the trade fight between the United States and China. This was freeze since the crisis, and we don't know where it's standing today and how to resolve it in the coming future. At these days, what we see that Mr. Trump is, while he is trying to do the utmost in order to recover from the epidemic, at the same time, he is preparing himself for the next elections. So everything is mixed together, and we do not see, when we look at it, we don't see a normal processing, of global diplomacy all over. This was just 2 or 3 examples, but you can feel it everywhere.
What ramifications will, and I know this can be a conversation in and of itself, but just initial thoughts of what you think ramifications of annexation of the West Bank can be?
My belief is that, number one, under the current leadership of Israel, Israel does not agree to two-state solution. That's one thing. But more than that, I think the Palestinians definitely, they do not want a two-state solution. Maybe they wanted it in 48 or between 48 to 67. But today, actually, they denied it also then. They don't want it. What they want at the end of the day to be part of Israel from, Jordan to the Mediterranean. They want to be part of this citizenship. They want to be part of Israel. They don't say it. They don't expose it. They don't talk about it. They just refuse to any agreement. And I think that both sides look at Trump, the century plan, what is called, is one step towards a one-state solution and not to a two-state solution. I think that the Israelis and Mr. Netanyahu, he says this annexation is a first step, and the Palestinians also, they will react, either in violence or whatever, but deep in their mind and deep in their heart, they say, okay, let them do it. And at the end of the day, we are going to be exactly like our families, friends, the Arab Israeli citizens. If they are citizens in a full right, equal rights, we will have the same. It will take us another generation or two generation or three generation. But this is our dream, to be part of Israel. And as we all know that in terms of democracy, the balance is 50-50 between the Palestinians and the Israelis, between, the Jordan River and the Mediterranean. So I look at this annexation as part of the big plan. Some people from both sides, they don't expose it, they don't say it, but they know exactly that it goes towards, at the end of the day, one state. This is why the Palestinians will never accept it, will never sit down and talk about the two-state solution. They refuse to any discussion in the past since 48 until today, and what did not happen in the past will not happen in the future.
I wasn't going to ask a follow-up question, but it begs the follow-up question. And okay, so let's say they're both, people are striving for a one-state solution. What ramifications do you see that having on Israel as a Jewish democratic state and on the Palestinians?
Well, this is very bad. If this happens, I am praying to be wrong. Because if I'm right, this is a vital future to the dream of Zionism. If we live in a one-state solution, the two people with no very clear majority of Jewish people, it means that you fulfill not the Zionism dream, but something else. I am very sad to be pessimistic on that point, and I am hoping and I'm praying that I'm wrong. But I see it very clearly, unfortunately. People are looking at what's going to happen next week or next month, but we are moving towards one state since 1967, step by step. Maybe it will take one or two more generations if we don't stop it. We need a leadership to realize what's going to happen, and very strongly to push the Palestinians to having their own state. Otherwise, it will be one state. And my fear is that they want it.
Winston Churchill famously said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And every crisis, as you obviously know, also serves as an opportunity. What are a few potential opportunities that you identify as a result of the coronavirus?
First of all, technology will, even more than it has been in the last 50 years, as an important part of our life. And I think that technology also will support and help us, to recover from the crisis, but also will continue to change and very more dramatically to change our life. That's one thing. The other thing is there are people who they are smart economically or business-wise. There are many opportunities on the floor. What you have to do is to identify them and then to take them and then to explore them and maybe to make it as a strong success. And number three, what I think is our people will change the proportions of their values. And not as strong as in the coming 1 or 2 years, but part of it will be changed. And you know what? I think somehow, I'm not talking about the domestic violence, but violence between nations and countries. Maybe this is the bright side of more nationalism trend that we are experiencing in this day. If you're getting close into your own country and your own society, you put less attention to international conflicts. The downside of it is that you raise maybe domestic violence. However, big wars, non-conventional wars, or something like what we have experienced 2 times in Iraq in the last 25 years, it doesn't seem to be happen in the coming, future. And why? Because people have changed their values. People understand that they have to fight for themselves to be healthy and to live in the country domestically, and they're not looking into their neighbors. Priorities have changed.
So my final question is about the Charney Forum, established by the wonderful Tilly Charney almost 2 years ago. And the vision was to address the change, the dramatic change that's been caused as a result of the information revolution. Having, all this information at our fingertips, and people are coming up with very simplistic answers to very complicated situations, including even we're seeing it now in COVID-19. What COVID-19 has actually done is actually exacerbated that disruption even more so. And we're offering programs, for all sectors, civil sector, the public sector, private sector, seminars and workshops to help people navigate this information overload and how to address the complexity of problems. And that very long preface was to ask you what you think the advantages of the Charney Forum for New Diplomacy as a hybrid of academia and a hands-on program.
So I think that we, as an instructors in this kind of organization, we have to stick it very strongly in their mind. They have a very interesting, enjoyable, and important challenge to learn, to develop the technology in order to implement it on many other things of our life, and especially on our diplomacy. We were talking about the flat global in the last 20, 25 years. Now it's different. We are separate, we are around the world, but technology will help us to unite it. And I think that the people whom they can make it is not us. It's not people whom they are above 60 or 70 years old. The job and the challenge is for those who are 20 years old, just graduate their high school or college, and they're entering life. They have to think about how to change diplomacy. They have to think how to change priorities. They have to think how to use, technology. They have to think how to isolate the negative of the social media and to change it into the positive of the instant of the social medias.